the Pakistanis handed over a terrorist who was involved in bombing of the Kabul airport soon after the Taliban took over when the Americans were
Yeah.
departing. So some Americans were killed, large number of Afghans were killed. So the guy was returned to the United States, and the president praised the Pakistanis for having done that. Now, this is an old ploy of the Pakistanis. They have cultivated many terrorists, and they then they have also turned them in to the Americans in installments to earn their goodwill. So counterterrorism angle continues.
You're on the Gist on Strat News Global. I'm Surya Gangadharan, and welcome to another edition of the Gist. Is Pakistan in a sweet spot? None of you would have missed those pictures of Field Marshal Asim Munir, Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif, and of course President Trump in the White House, all smiling for the cameras, standing together. And there have been lots of reports about these two countries getting back together again after a fairly prolonged period of keeping away from each other. So many questions come up here. Is Pakistan again poised to play a crucial role in Afghanistan, maybe even Iran? And does that mean Pakistan has begun a slow transition back into the American camp? Um, in that case, what happens to Iron Brother China? So many questions there. And joining me to give us a perspective and analysis of the situation is Sharat Sabharwal, a former Indian High Commissioner to Pakistan. 2000, I think you came back, sir, in 2013. I think
2013, 2009 to 2013, I was High Commissioner.
longish tenure, huh? 4 years.
Longish, and I was Deputy High Commissioner from 1995 to 1999. So
I see.
total 8 years plus. Yes.
Yeah. So let's get to Pakistan and what they're up to. Is Pakistan in a sweet spot?
Yeah. Look, I wouldn't call it a sweet spot yet, Surya. First of all, let's understand that the basic weaknesses of the Pakistani state are still intact. But with those weaknesses, Pakistan, as you know, over its history has gone through cycles. Sometimes it comes up a little, then goes into a tighter spot. And it seems to me that it is slowly emerging from the geopolitical tight spot in which it had found itself for over 2 decades now. First, because of its complex internal problems, largely intact, but things have improved. For example, in terms of economy, it's not on the verge of a sovereign default that it was 3 years ago. Civil military problem remains, but now Asim Munir is fully in charge, and the challenge that Imran Khan was posing him earlier is not there. So things have improved a bit, but those problems are not yet resolved. But I think more important than that, it always enjoyed solid support of China. We saw it during Operation Sindoor, real-time intelligence being provided by China and Chinese weapon systems being tested there. And now it's entering into a new transactional relationship with the United States. And then, of course, it has signed a mutual, strategic mutual defense agreement with Saudi Arabia. Now, considering all these facts, it is slowly emerging from that geopolitical tight spot and relative isolation that it had faced earlier, as I said, because of two reasons. Its internal problems, as also terrorists with links to Pakistan surfacing all over the world. So you had 9/11 attacks in many countries, of course, attacks against us, etc., etc. The situation seems to be changing a bit for the better for Pakistan. Let me put it that way.
So, what is the US now seeking from Pakistan?
Let me first explain, Surya, to your viewers. It is a transactional relationship. What do I mean by a transactional relationship? If you give me a minute, look, if you look at the relationship of Pakistan with China, they have always had strategic congruence over the need to contain India. That is one thread that has run through their relationship all along its long history. As far as the United States is concerned, the United States and Pakistan never had strategic congruence. They have come together in transactional relationships in specific situations. They came together during the Cold War. They came together during the Afghan jihad against the Soviet Union. They came together again, Pakistan under duress, during the US war on terror, after 9/11. And now this is another transactional phase. So they have come together in specific situations in a transactional relationship. But each of those transactional relationships has been characterized by two elements, if I may say so. Number one, even as they work together, they have worked at cross purposes. So in the Cold War, just to take an example, they were in a treaty relationship, SEATO and CENTO, etc.,
Yeah.
etc. But while the treaty relationship for the United States was against the Soviet Union, for Pakistan it was a hedge against India.
Yeah.
Similarly, later on during the Afghan jihad, etc., they worked together but worked at cross purposes. During the war on terror, for the US, it was to keep the Taliban out. But
Yeah.
eventually, the Pakistanis acted in a manner as to bring the Taliban back again. Of course, that has had
Hmm.
impact on them. So that is one thing. The second, whenever they have come together in this kind of a relationship, it has had disastrous consequences, both for the US and Pakistan, for the region, for the international community. Those religious zealots, most retrograde, who were let loose during the Afghan jihad, they came
Yeah.
to haunt the region, the international community, and now Pakistan itself. So, it has disastrous consequences for everyone involved, and then also for the region, and as I said, for the international community. So,
Mhm.
what we are seeing today is another transactional relationship in formation.
Mhm. With the goal of what? What does America want in this current phase?
Yeah, look, it all started with, it seems, the business interest of Trump family in crypto business in Pakistan.
Hmm.
So that gave the Pakistanis a very valuable connection in the White House.
Yeah.
They then, offered rare earths, critical minerals. In Pakistan, they say that they have these minerals in Balochistan, in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, possibly in so-called Gilgit-Baltistan also. And that resulted in an American company signing an agreement earlier this month with the Frontier Works Organization, which is a subsidiary body of the army, for prospection and extraction of rare earths. Where it goes, we don't know. Nobody knows the deposits, etc. The Pakistanis would sell you anything, but we
Hmm.
will see where it goes. Then Trump said, massive oil reserves. I have seen any number of reports in the Pakistani press. There is one today in the News International Pakistani newspaper where their own experts are saying we have no proven massive reserves of oil and gas. Again, that's a kite that's been flown, but all that seems to have attracted Trump. Maybe also in his mind, it is a way of riling India and putting a little more pressure on India in the context of whatever he wants out of us in terms of trade deal, etc. Now, this is the economic content. As a result of this, Pakistan also did a trade deal at a relatively low tariff of about 19%. But
Yeah.
then, it doesn't amount to much because their overall trade is a little more than 7 billion. It was little more than 7 billion last year. And the
Mhm.
Americans had, a trade deficit with Pakistan, not much, $2-3 billion. So nothing significant there. So when you are talking of, and when Shahbaz Sharif meets, and the Pakistanis, of course, say that, we discuss regional security and counter-terrorism, but they mainly talk of economic issues. We want
Yeah.
American investments in mining, in IT, in agriculture, etc., etc. I think the economic content of the relationship is overblown, and wherever they have entered into an agreement, rare earths, etc., we will see where it goes. I think it's more to do the way Asim Munir has been feted by Trump. first hosted to a luncheon meeting, I think in June
Yeah.
this year. And now
Mm.
again, he was with Shabazz Sharif. Now, the way he is being feted, it seems that there is a substantive security content to whatever the Americans have in mind. And we don't know for sure what exactly that security content is. But one can talk of a few scenarios, and if you wish, I could talk of
Yeah,
them.
please. Please,
You
yeah.
know, it could be first in the context of Iran and Afghanistan,
Mhm.
uh, two separately. You're not sort of seeing them, one linkage of any
Mm.
kind, but Iran and Afghanistan. In terms of Iran, as you know, in spite of the Israeli attacks in June this year, followed by the American bombing in one case, their nuclear program has suffered a serious setback, but it has not been obliterated. The same regime is in power in Iran. They are anti-American. They're very, very strongly anti-American. So there could be trouble down the line. And in that kind of scenario, the Americans, I think, are preparing for some facilities possibly in Pakistan. Just to give you an example, during the war on terror, when the Americans were fighting the war in Afghanistan against the Taliban after 9/11, it's a longish
Yeah.
war, they had exclusive access to Shamsi Air Base of Pakistan, the Balochistan province.
Yeah.
They operated their drones, etc., from there. In 2012, the two sides fell out on the issue of a NATO attack on a Pakistani check post in Salala,
Yeah.
the border area with Afghanistan. And the Pakistanis inter alia asked the Americans to leave that airport. So they left the airport. But they may like to get back some of these facilities in the context of Iran. Of course, with Afghanistan, it's counter-terrorism. As you know, earlier this year, the Pakistanis handed over a terrorist who was involved in bombing of the Kabul airport soon after the Taliban took over, when the Americans were
Yeah.
departing. So some Americans were killed, large number of Afghans were killed. So the guy was returned to the United States, and the president praised the Pakistanis for having done that. Now, this is an old ploy of the Pakistanis. They have cultivated many terrorists, and then they have also turned them in to the Americans in installments to earn their goodwill. So counterterrorism angle continues. But I think more than that, now Trump wants Bagram Air Base. Bagram Air Base, as you know, the Taliban are resisting strongly.
Yeah.
Taliban
Yeah.
have been recognized by the Russians, the only country to have recognized them. The Chinese are dealing with them. They have accepted their ambassador. Uh, they are resisting return of Bagram to the, because it goes against their ideology, and they will have things. It will be very difficult for explain it to their rank and file if they were to return it to the United States. So that's where the United States has a little problem. The Pakistanis are reaching a breaking point with the Taliban because of their allegations that the Taliban are not doing anything to rein in terrorists operating from their territory in Pakistan. In fact, they have said very recently that when TTP attacks are mounted in Pakistan, 70% of those mounting those attacks are Afghan nationals and Afghans, and not persons of Pakistani origin who are staying on the
Yeah.
other side. And Pakistan knows that it has tried everything. It put trade restrictions, it sent back large number of Afghans. The situation hasn't changed. Pakistan knows that even though it's stronger militarily, it cannot prevail against Afghanistan
Yeah.
militarily, where the Soviets failed to prevail and the Americans failed to prevail. It may do at some stage what it has done repeatedly in the past, which is try to destabilize the regime in Kabul and try and bring some people. There are telltale signs that it's getting in touch with groups opposed to the Taliban. So
Mhm.
there is a possibility here that the Americans and the Pakistanis join hands to put pressure on the Taliban. This is in the context of Afghanistan. But Surya, I think more important than that, we should look at West Asia. It seems to me, if you look at the agreement that Pakistan has signed, now this is an old partnership with
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia. Pakistanis have been involved in security and providing defense to the royal family, the two holy mosques, etc., etc. So it is, in a sense, a formalization of that agreement. But Soon after the agreement was signed, both sides made statements barely concealing that it may entail a Pakistani nuclear umbrella for Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
As you know, any mention of a nuclear umbrella or anything of that kind would, raise a hue and cry in Washington.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened. The Americans have not issued any statement. So I asked myself, were they kept in the loop? Do the Americans see a role for Pakistan in the security architecture of West Asia? Of course, under the American tutelage, not as an independent actor, but under the American tutelage. This is one question which is raised by the Saudi agreement. And then, of course, Trump recently met Arab and Muslim leaders on 24th September, I think, in New York on the margins of UNGA. He proposed a 21 point plan for Gaza, for ending the war in Gaza. And aside from other points, one point is an international stabilization force initially to maintain law and order in the territory after the war is ended, whenever it is ended, which would then train a police force, etc., for longer term, etc., etc. That kind of scenario emerges. I'm sure the Americans would want Pakistanis to play a role in that force, with
I
the
got
large military, etc., etc. That's another possibility that emerges. So I have mentioned all these scenarios in the security field. We don't know exactly what it is, but I think things should become clearer in the coming months.
Mhm. Just this thing about Trump wanting to get back Bagram and so on. What is his plan for Afghanistan? Does he want regime change? Is he looking at rare earths and all that reports that we've seen in the past?
Trump's demands, you never know. The only reason he has given that Bagram is very close to where the Chinese make their nuclear weapons. This must be something in Xinjiang or
Uh-huh.
some other area, which is closer from there. Um, so that's the only reason he has given. So we don't know what it is. Obviously, the Americans would be very happy if the Taliban were to give them this airport and offer them whatever minerals, etc., etc. they have. But on the other hand, they have all this human rights issue in the United States and in the West. Rights of women, rights of minorities, and all these issues are there. So therefore, they haven't recognized the Taliban. And then, as you know, he talked of taking back Greenland and Panama
Yeah.
Canal, etc., etc. So we don't know exactly what he has in mind. But for the moment, he has raised the pitch on it, and the Taliban are resisting it. So there is some degree, I'm sure, of displeasure with that kind of stand. The Taliban can ask for recognition, they can ask for money from the United States,
Relief,
they
yeah.
can get all this. But they will have a very difficult time to explain it to their rank and file. And
Yeah.
they should be worried that if they do this kind of thing, many of their rank and file may gravitate towards the Islamic State Khorasan, which
Yeah.
is their nemesis. So I think that's a picture concerning Bagram Airways.
Mhm. Then what is the picture concerning Iran? Is it about the US looking for a change in the Islamic character of the regime?
I don't know. I mean, there were demands in Israel, and there were reports that after having largely decapitated their military and their nuclear scientists, nuclear infrastructure, that they may be looking for regime change, but we didn't go there.
Yeah.
Things didn't go there. So we don't know. I won't be able to say, what they have, the Americans have in mind. Is it regime change or is it just to prepare themselves for a future date where the Iranians, after recovering, may again go back to doing what they were doing earlier to move towards? Uh, the allegation was that they were moving towards a nuclear weapon.
Yeah.
So it seems to me that they are preparing for some of these scenarios, and there Pakistan's help could be valuable to them.
Mhm. Let's come to China. Are the Chinese okay with this cozying up to the Americans?
Look, that is these are some of the difficulties Pakistan will face. Don't forget that in the past there has been a phase where Pakistan enjoyed the largest of both China and the United States.
Yeah.
But that was in the 70s, 71 onwards, when Pakistan helped the Americans, and helped Kissinger, he flew down to Pakistan and then from there he flew to Beijing to establish and the first contacts, and then of course the relationship followed. But
Mm.
that was a phase when the Americans and Chinese were working together. They were getting closer.
Yeah.
The picture is still not clear. Trump keeps on talking of at least a trade deal with China, and things may look up. But at the moment, they are adversaries, and they are likely to be adversaries. Now, in this kind of situation, if Pakistan tries to ride both the boats, somewhere problems will come. So I see two, three problems for this transactional relationship. One is overpromise. I have massive oil reserves. I have massive deposits of rare earths. Where that goes, we will see. That's one. Then Pakistan's own weaknesses, the law and order problems. It's a very fraught security situation. So doing oil prospection there, etc., on large scale is very difficult. And third, and the most important, is this Chinese angle. China now is more deeply invested in Pakistan than ever before, and Pakistan's links with China have deepened and widened significantly over the last 2 decades plus, and dependence for arms, more than 80%, etc., etc. Now, if they wish to change the picture significantly, I don't think the Chinese would take kindly to that, and they would try and rein Pakistan in. But that is not to say that the Chinese would, get riled or get very angry at the slightest suggestion of, some dealings between the United States and Pakistan. I'm talking of if there is a significant shift, and I don't see that shift coming. I think this relationship, which is shaping now, we don't know how long it will last, what shape it will take. But I can tell you that some stage it will end, as all other transactional relationships have ended. And I fear that it may end with some negative consequences for both the parties, but also for the region.
Mhm.
For example, if we see more money and armaments start flowing from the United States again to Pakistan, that would be a matter of concern to us.
Yeah.
Then again, West Asia is a region of very critical importance to us. So if Pakistan is given some role in the security architecture of that region, that would also concern us. Or any investment coming in Pakistan's military-industrial complex, let's say from the Saudis. Saudis have been helping them with money, parking
Yeah.
in their central bank, giving them loans, giving them oil on credit. But assuming now, investment starts coming to their military industrial complex. This will be a matter of concern for us. So, as I said, whatever happens, if it takes shape, there'll be some issues of concern to us, and we'll have to keep a close eye on it.
Mhm. Is Are the Pakistanis also hoping to profit from Trump's antipathy for India?
Naturally, I mean, this is. I don't think we see it as a zero-sum game. But as I tell you that in all that Trump is doing, it seems to me that an element of it, a part of it, is also, to
Personal.
exert pressure on India. And I think to that extent, we should, not even acknowledge that pressure. What pressure are we talking of here? India
Yeah, I
can
know.
India can resist such pressures if there is any such thinking. I don't know, but there could be. And Pakistanis, of course, are quite happy that there are some irritants between India and the United States now, and they would try and take advantage of it. Why not? I mean, for example, they were very quick to endorse Trump's repeated claims that he stopped a war between India and Pakistan in May.
Yeah.
Proposed him for the Nobel Prize, and not a very good proposer, I must say. If somebody is to propose, it should be someone better than that.
Yeah.
But anyway, they proposed. But that comes natural to a rentier state like Pakistan. Those are not the kind of things that a country like India can do.
Mhm.
But
Last,
they will, as usual, sorry, they will, as
yeah.
usual, try to take advantage. Yeah.
Mhm. So the role of Turkey here, beating the drum on Kashmir, um, kind of a new actor now that the Pakistanis are getting together with.
Look, this is also an old relationship. Turkey, along with Saudi Arabia and one or two other countries, must remember, has been in the OIC contact group on Kashmir since the
Hmm.
beginning. And there's a contact group which meets probably once a year in New York on margins of UNGA, etc. I mean, that's as a formality and issue some kind of statement. They have had significant economic stakes in Pakistan. I have seen when I was High Commissioner, and a number of projects being commissioned were built by Turkish firms, and especially awarded by Sharif brothers. So they have a good relationship there. In terms of weapons, although Turkish drones had become a big issue during
Yeah.
Operation Sindoor, you know. But my impression is that major armament supplier, of course, is China. This is well known, more than 80%. And
Hmm.
only about 5 to 7% of armaments, weapon systems of Pakistan come from Turkey. Now, that includes drones, that includes some naval ships also. I think they
Hmm.
have some orders there. But as I said, it's an old relationship. Would it grow to any more significant extent? I won't be able to tell you. But I think the more important relationships Turkey remains there are China, Saudi Arabia, UAE, because of money and financial assistance that they have been getting. And of course, now the United States. This transactional relationship, what would it lead to? Would it lead to also flows of money, etc., or armaments at all? We'll have to keep a close eye on that.
Hmm. The You don't see our ties with the Saudis, UAE getting affected by um, this thing with the Pakistanis they've got going.
Look, we have really worked hard on those relationships
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia and with the UAE. And I believe things have, I haven't dealt with those relationships, but I believe that things have really looked up. This is a process which had started, but a
Yeah.
lot has been done by our current government to consolidate things there. There are dialogues at the political level, at various levels, and there are economic linkages that have grown. Now, all those countries are trying to diversify their economy. They were traditionally dependent only on oil, but they're trying to diversify. There, India has many more opportunities to offer than Pakistan. So when people say that next conflict between India and Pakistan, God forbid, whenever it comes, um, the Saudis would be ranged along with the Pakistanis. I don't think we should be looking at that. If the Saudis had divisions to send to Pakistan to fight alongside them with India, then they wouldn't be asking Pakistan to come to their aid
Yeah.
in the DRC. But as I told you earlier, if financial assistance increases, earlier, the Saudis have been giving oil on credit or deposits, etc., etc. But they have reined in Pakistan a little bit, saying, look, you repay first, and then we'll give you more, and etc., etc. Now, if they become a little more liberal, that would help the Pakistani economy
Yeah.
shore it up. Or if, as I said earlier, start putting in money into Pakistan's military and industrial complex on grounds of this defense agreement. All those issues would be troublesome for us.
Hmm.
So we should be looking more at that kind of possibility.
Yeah. So a lot of uncertainties there. And just to sum up, the US and Pakistan are on the new phase of their transactional relationship. Not clear exactly how things will go and exactly what the goals will be. But I guess further down the road, we'll have clarity on what the each side wants and how far they're prepared to go when it comes to holding each other's hands. I think that's about where things stand at this point.
Yes,
Ambassador,
I
yeah,
would
Ambassador
agree with that.
Sabharwal. So thank you for that perspective, and I guess we'll be revisiting this issue before long. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
That's all we have for you on this edition of the Gist. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on social media. Thank you very much. Good day.